yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. Man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, you know what he be talking about. Talking Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with this hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
There he is. Good morning, Doc. How you doing?
Doing very well. Thanks for being here.
Yes, and thank you for having us. How you feeling this morning? It's a big day for the SWAC conference and these 12 football schools.
Feeling great. This is a great day for the Southwestern Athletic Conference. 12 football schools, over 220 media. So very excited about that, and it just shows the growth and the strength of the Southwestern Athletic Conference that many people are interested in what we're doing.
What are some of the things that you look at? Obviously, you want to wait until you do your address, State of the SWAC. But just give us an overall framing. How do you put that together? What things do you consider when you start working on what you're going to say to the people about the State of the SWAC?
Well, you know, when we first started, that really wasn't the intent. When I came out my first year, I kind of did it, and it seemingly worked, and we've continued to do so. And we've kind of went somewhat on a media blackout over the last 2 months because we didn't want to give away a lot of the things that were going on. But what we want to do is reflect on the past, and then talk about where we are and where we're going in the future. And the future is significant for us. In my opinion, I watched the media days of the SEC. I watched the WAC media days. I watched the Southland media days, and everybody kind of said the same thing. This is the greatest time in our history. This is unprecedented. So I'm going to try not to use those words, but this is the greatest time in our history, and this is very unprecedented. When you look at the growth, when you look at the maturity of the SWAC, when you look at our coaches, you know, hopefully you'll be able to put up the media guide and you look at those legendary coaches, not just from a playing perspective, but just from a coaching perspective. It's extremely significant. You know, one of the things that I've been extremely pleased about is all of the interest in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Now, mind you, some of it kind of caught me off guard when you log on and you see everybody talking about the Southwestern Athletic Conference, right? But that's a good thing. That means that our brand is there. That means that our brand is growing. And my responsibility is to continue to grow that brand and continue to put a really good product, you know, out there, not just from a football's perspective, but a 18 teams perspective. 18 sports perspective. And, you know, we know that the transformation committee, we know there's going to be a lot of changes in the NCAA. We know, you know, conference realignment. I saw the Sports Illustrated article about super conference. You know, you have all of those things. And I'll end by saying this. I remember in my management class back at Prairie View A&M University, one of the things that I loved to work on was that SWOT analysis, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats. Yes, and I can tell you 30 years later, it has really paved the way in order for us to kind of stay ahead because we have strengths, we have weaknesses, and we definitely have threats and a lot of opportunities. So this state of the Southwestern Athletic Conference will address some of those issues.
All right. Well, I know you're very busy this morning. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to stop by. Maybe after things get going, you'll stop by. And
you want me twice?
I thought we got more questions. I'm sure a lot of people do, but I appreciate your time.
And also, Dr. McClelland, congratulations
definitely.
On being vice chair and then chair of the basketball committee. And my just quick, simple question will be this: what do you enjoy the most about this day? I know it's been a lot of preparation, but what's the most, what you enjoy about this day?
Well, this is the official kickoff of football. We're in the South where football is king. We set attendance records last year. When you look at our models and when we got the numbers, there were actually more people that watched some of our games on ESPN Plus than watch games on ESPN2. So when you get those types of numbers, when you get that type of interaction and excitement about the Southwestern Athletic Conference, days like today is hard to sleep because you're getting ready to open this thing up. And again, this is going to be an unprecedented year. You're talking about Eddie Robinson at Alabama State, a SWAC legend, somebody that did great things, played with Steve McNair, came back to his alma mater. He didn't have to. I don't want to put Eddie's business out on the street. Eddie got plenty of money. Eddie don't need to come coach, right? Eddie did this because he loves his alma mater, Alabama State. Then you talk about Hugh Jackson, Grambling State, the Grambling icon, the name of Grambling. And then you have somebody like a Hugh Jackson. And then, you know what Coach Prime has already done. And then Coach Dooley leaving Prairie View, going to Southern. He's going home. His accent, when you talk to him today, it's gotten even deeper now. He kind of changed it. He had a little Texas accent. He's back down to that deep Louisiana accent. He's comfortable. He's at home. And you anticipate Southern fan base to be extremely, extremely excited, not to mention what Coach Dancy has done down at Mississippi Valley State. They got on a roll last year. So this is going to be, again, a year where you're not going to be able to take anybody for granted. Texas Southern, everybody had them picked kind of down last year. They gave everybody everything that they wanted to handle and actually won some games. That game in Dallas against Southern and Texas Southern is going to be one to watch. So
you would remember that one, Dr. McClelland.
Yeah. Well, by the way,
but you're true. It's true.
Banks called me, although the officials it took a long time. The ball was spotted right. So don't blame it on the officials.
Hey,
for the record,
congratulations, Texas Southern. They won.
Yeah. So from that perspective, this is a very, very exciting time for us. This kicks it off. And again, I don't want to use those same adjectives that the others have used, but this is truly going to be a special year for us.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, a special presentation of BCSN. I have none other than the VP of Athletics at Jackson State University and none other than Coach Prime, head football coach of Jackson State University.
Of Athletics? Who the president?
Vice president.
How you the vice president of athletics and you the AD?
You didn't tell him you got a title?
Vice president and director of athletics.
But how is that? You should be the president of athletics. Who's the president?
I got you.
Of athletics?
Yes.
He's the president.
Huh?
Of athletics?
Right.
Makes
So
sense.
the VP of what? He's the VP of what?
Vice president. Previous is intercollegiate, but you want to be the president of athletics?
He
I'll
should.
put it right here. We'll start it right here today.
I thought that was
We
the
have
title.
none other than Ashley
Oh,
Robinson,
straight up. I
the
thought that was the
president
title.
of athletics at Jackson State University.
That's what it should be, shouldn't it?
We'll stick with VP.
Oh, you
How you the VP? I'm sorry. I ain't know that. That don't even make sense. How the AD the VP? Who was the president of athletics?
I don't know who.
I'm
didn't know
straight
who.
up.
No, I understand your point in
I'm-
terms of if you are over that organization, you are the president of that organization. In this case, it's athletic, the Department of Athletics.
Right.
You're the president of the Department of Athletics.
Man, okay, let's go. This is
right.
man.
With that, let's start it off.
I don't
Doing
understand
big
that.
things at Jackson State. We know that no matter what title we want to give these individuals here. That's without a doubt. We had a recent cover, Sports Illustrated, where your son is on there, #1 recruit. Talk to you a little bit about that. How did it all come to fruition?
We have a wonderful agency of representation with Constant Sports of SMAC Entertainment that been partnering with me for over the last 2 decades. And they make things happen. Just like they made things happen with The Rock coming on campus to hold the tryouts there. They made things happen with several different entities, Pepsi and so forth. It's some wonderful things happening in Jackson State due to relationships, and we're very appreciative of that.
Certainly. Let me go to you, Ashley. In terms of these relationships, all the things that are going on in Jackson, a lot of things you're building, what culminates as it comes to the SWAC 2020 Football Media Day? What is on your mind right now?
You know what's on my mind right now. We're getting ready for fall season. We're getting ready to support our kids, support my coaches, getting ready for camp. It's no vacation right now. We putting things in place to make sure that our kids can be successful, make sure that our coaches will be successful. And for me, it's all about our coaches and our student athletes. And we got to make sure that we continue to put things in place. And that's a lot of work. It's not something that, people pick up and you start one day. One thing I love about Coach Prime, anything that has football involved, he's touching. It doesn't matter what it is. Coach is very involved in everything that goes on to have what his kids, have his kids going on. Whether we're eating, whether it's hotel, whether it's uniforms, and that's what I love about Coach. I tell this story all the time. A lot of times when you hire a Hall of Fame coach, you have a coach that had a successful coach, best athlete of all time. They come to practice for 2 hours and they leave. Coach is up at 4:30 in the morning calling me, hey, let's go to breakfast. Let's talk about this. And he's there. And he's there until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. He's involved in that program every single day. And I knew from day one when Coach came on campus, I said, we're going to be successful because of his work ethics, his vision, his coaching staff that he's hired, and what he expects from his coaches and his student athletes. And it takes work. And Coach Prime, he has done a really good job when they're talking about changing the culture of Jackson State football. He's done a really good job of setting that tone. He's done a really good job, the vision that he has for the program. And it's something that he's very, very passionate and serious about. This is something he really don't play about. And I respect that. I love that. As the athletic director, you have to be good partners with your coaches.
That's right.
And you have to support your coaches and your student athletes. And that's the thing I love about, what Coach is doing every single day. And he loves that passion that he has for those young men and young women. And I say young men and young women. We have a lot of young women in our program, our managers, our trainers. It's very important to our program. And Coach makes sure that he has a vision and a plan for them. And he takes passion in supporting them and giving them things they need to be successful.
Let me follow up with that culture and passion you're talking about. Now, as you're developing that, you've seen it at the highest level, what it means to develop a culture. In and outside of
that word. I don't know what the word means.
And
I don't know what the word culture means. Like, what does it really mean? Because it has so many different definitions.
When I talk about culture, I'm talking about in terms of your organization.
There you go.
Right?
What we've created.
What you created,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha.
Singular,
like
Jackson State University.
Okay.
When you were with other organizations, you held them to a standard.
Yes.
You won championship, played for World Series because of a culture of excellence.
And a commitment to excellence.
Right?
Right.
And so
a unified commitment to excellence.
And so as you bring that everywhere you go, talk about the challenges of getting folks to understand what it means to be champions at every level throughout an organization.
I'm very fortunate to have AD. When I tell you very fortunate, every head coach is not equipped with a man that understands, a man that knows, a man that's a forward thinker, a man that you don't have to wait on. He's going to be there. A man that's willing to step outside the box and think in the entirety and not just the individuality of what we're trying to do. And you got to understand, we feel as though we're a model for a multitude of HBCUs. And you can say that it's braggadocious or whatever you may entitle it. That's who we are. So we're trying to do things right because we know there are people watching. There's people emulating us and imitating us. And we want to get it right. We want to perfect it before we package it and disperse it out into the community.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're doing.
Good. Talk about a little more about how do you package that? When you talk about going through a day, you said getting a call at 4 o'clock in the morning to talk about business, about moving things forward in an organization. I know that's one thing that you've always been about, but now you collide with these two individuals and you talk about setting that standard. Talk a little bit more about that.
I'm going to take it a step further. On our level, we've always made safe hires. We scared to step outside of the box and make a hire because you scared what comes with it. And, for me, I'm all about challenges. I'm all about making those hires that's going to make us better. They do it all the time on other levels. And now, we're starting to do that on this level. And I was able to bring a Coach Bryan to Jackson State University. And I tell people that all the time, the attention that we get at Jackson State, it has nothing to do with Ashley Robinson. As an athletic director, at the end of the day, you can raise money, you can do some great things, but if you make the wrong hire, and we're scared to make those hires. And one thing people know about me, I'm always looking
you can't be safe and move forward.
I'm always about change. I'm always about, hey, challenge me. And that's something that Coach Bryan, we do every day. He challenged me, I challenge him, and he challenged for the right reason. And that's for us to be great, for us to support these kids and give them what they need to be successful. You hear Coach Prime every day, he'll tell you, it's for these kids. And that's what it's about. Everything that we do, anybody that work in higher ed, we got to make sure that we do this for these kids. And Coach said it earlier today, when we out recruiting, First thing, it's two things that parents gonna ask you: where my kid gonna lay their head at, and where they gonna eat.
Absolutely.
And we can't keep saying, "Oh, we got the tradition." We got those questions. Got to answer. I'm a parent, so we have to put things in place to make sure these kids, are successful, and make sure that we can support our student athletes, and not only that, support our coaches. And when you're thinking outside of the box, there are always going to be challenges. But when you have challenges, that brings work, and when you work, that brings success.
Love it.
So when you take the easy way out, if you want to be 5 and 6 every year, you make that safe hire.
That's right.
If you want to win 11 conference games,
you don't do it.
And change the program and hire somebody on September 2021. They start December 2021 and win a championship December 2022.
Yes.
In 12 months, you make a co-prime hire.
Well, I want to know about challenging. As you said, how do you challenge folks not to be part of the status quo?
I'm a straight shooter, my brother, and I do my homework. And what we do at Jackson is not for me, and it's not for Ashley. It's for those kids. It's for the community. It's for the SWAC. Oftentimes, when I'm talking on these type of platforms, I'm not just talking about Jackson State.
Right.
I'm talking about the SWAC. Unfortunately, some of these coaches don't have the latitude to say what I can say because I'm not concerned about job security. Me and my dog, we straight.
Right.
I'm sorry, my AD. I got to look comfortable. My AD, we're straight, but I love him like that. So we're talking about we're trying to improve the whole house, man, not just Jackson. So it would be ignorant of us just to improve what we have and not think about our brothers. I've bonded with some wonderful men out there. Coach Dancy, if he had the resources we have, he'll probably kick all our butts. Let's just get that straight.
Yes, sir.
Coach Simmons,
right?
Coach McNair, and some of the others that Coach George, Hugh. Mm-hmm. These guys are unbelievable coaches.
Yes,
they can coach at a multitude of levels. I just want to help them attain the resources and the infrastructure and the business practices that should be. We shouldn't have to relinquish what we believe is right just because.
Right.
We should expect it. We should expect our programs to operate like other programs. We got to expect that, man. We got to quit talking about it and truly expect that.
Right. And what are some of the things that we need to really understand about expecting that? We got to
change some of our business practices.
Okay.
We keep talking about tradition. We keep talking about this. We keep talking about stuff that it's been the same. It's going to keep operating the same. You're going to get the same results. Yeah. We got to change that. We got to bring in more innovative people. We got to do things differently and get rid of some of the people that's been in positions that ain't provoking no more change. We really got to take this thing up another level.
Yeah, they talk about insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result.
But we keep talking about ain't nobody doing nothing about it but us. But when we do something about it, now you see the results, but you get mad at the results. But that's because we produce change.
Right.
It's change everywhere around.
Right.
It's change at our stadium now. It's changed everywhere, and our media department has changed. Everything touching this program has changed.
It's stepping up for positive, yeah.
Because we got to go. We run, man. We're sprinters. We're not long distance runners. We're sprinters.
I like that.
And we're not going to slow down and wait.
For no one.
For no one. This ain't no relay. This is sprint.
I understand that. Let's talk about that, going back to you, in terms of sprinting and getting there. What is the nexus?
We want to dominate. Coach said that earlier. We want to dominate. All our sports, football program, we want to dominate. And we want to dominate because we want to make sure that we get these kids in all positions so they can get to the next level.
That's right.
We have some talented athletes, talented students, and not only the next level, in the pros, but we want to see some some Fortune 500
CEOs,
CFOs,
presidents,
programs, CFOs, presidents, And that's what we want to continue to do. And that's our next step. We want to dominate in everything that we do on and off the field.
That's right.
Last question I have for you, Coach Prime, in terms of that dominate. Mm-hmm. What does that look like when you say dominate? I'm sure it's on and off the field.
It's on and off the field and in the classroom. On the field, off the field, and in the classroom. And also, I have several kids that are fathers. Mm-hmm. I would be remiss if I'm not teaching these kids how to be a father, how to be a man. Academically, We got to dominate in those classrooms so we obtain those degrees so that we could get to the next level. We got to dominate in the community, opening doors for people doing things, picking up trash when it's needed. We got to do all those little intangible things that gets us to the next level. I love when I'm out and about in public and they say, you know what? I met one of your kids and he was the nicest young man. I get it all the time. And I love it. Now I met one of your kids and I get that too. And I check that at the door.
Yes, sir.
We don't play that. So we're trying to build a whole man. 95% of our kids are not going pro.
Right.
If not more. So we got to prepare them for life. And we're trying to do a wonderful thing and to get them into the Fortune 500 companies. And some of the companies that we partner with already has given opportunities to these young men to start not at the bottom level, but mid-level employment where there's 6 figures involved.
Yeah, and to the point of yourself, even if they go to the NFL, even if they win Super Bowls, have a World Series championship, or play in the World Series, end up being a Hall of Famer, there's still life after that. How do you make sure that you prepare? Is what you're talking about is to continue no matter what level of sex you have.
That's right.
That'll do it for us, Dr. Cavill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab.
Amen.
Here on the BCSN, we have Coach Bryan and the president of the Department of Athletics, Ashley Robinson.
Ain't no vice in here.
Yeah, that's the name of the show. This is Dr. Cavil with Inside HBCU Sports Lab, a special edition of the BCSN in the 2020-22 SWAC Football Media Day. We have all of them acting up. Your coaches around there giving you a hard time, man.
Always, man, always.
I have none other than the head football coach of Bethune-Cookman University, Coach Terry Sims. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate it. Glad
I should
to be
say
here.
welcome back.
Welcome back, yeah.
You like that? With that being said, let's get into it. And we know last year was last year.
Yes.
But you had a full spring, off season prepared. Tell us a little bit about your expectations from your football team from an offensive standpoint.
Well, we understand we have a new offensive coordinator, Mike Canales, coming to us from Maryland. Coach Canales has over 30 years of experience.
Wow.
What was impressive, he came in and the first week he grabbed the pulse of this offense. And he's making things simpler for these guys. They're playing fast again. They're understanding what he's wanting from them, and they're buying into everything that he's asking them to do. So that's first and foremost. And I think what our fans can get used to and be ready for again is our offense playing fast, being productive, and doing the necessary things we need to do to help us win football games.
Tell me about a couple of key pieces of the puzzle on the offensive side that's going to help make things go.
Well, I think, when you look at we have, 6 offensive linemen that we brought in, which was a need for us last year. We have 3 quarterbacks right now,
Okay.
Jalen Jones, Tyrone Franklin, and we have Walter Simmons that transferred from East Carolina. Those guys are battling every day. We still have Quayshawn Bird back. We have Marcus Riley, Darryl Powell, who play receiver for us. And, of course, the one that everybody's talking about, Kamari Averett, that plays tight end, but he can also play wide out. This guy is
tough
unbelievable, very tough matchup. But as I've said to everyone around here, he's even a better person. He's a true leader. He's going to not let anybody work harder than him, outwork him any day. He's out at practice early. He's leaving late. He's a guy that will not let guys slack around him. So I think his presence is just great for this football team right now and offensively.
Lot of opportunity in terms of your special team side of the ball. What are you looking at in terms of how that's going to function this year?
Well, by trade, I'm a special teams guy myself.
Is that?
That's how I kind of broke into coaching in the secondary and coaching special teams. That's been kind of my claim to fame for a while. Very important to me. We spend a lot of time on special teams because it is a phase of the game. It's one of the 3 phases of the game, and you can win and lose football games with special teams. So it's important to us. We're looking for our special teams to get back where we're supposed to be. We were not been bad on special teams, but we're used to leading leagues in special teams in all categories, and that's what we're going to get back to.
I know there were some troubles in terms of the penalties, but I wondered how much of that was because you didn't get the practice time previously coming into the season. So with this practice time, let's talk a little bit more about the defensive side of the ball.
Well, I think when you look at it, that's where penalties come from. You know, a lot of people say, well, they're undisciplined, this and that. Okay,
aggressive.
You can say a lot of that, right. But if you look at it, if you're being aggressive, if you're doing the things that you're coached to do, you're going to have penalties at times. We don't want penalties. We coach our guys not to have penalties, but you can't stop it at some time. If you're being aggressive, sometimes you're going to have an official that's going to, make calls on certain things. You can control only what you can control. You look at penalties and you say, well, if you have a lot of penalties, you're not going to win football games. That's not true either.
Right.
I've been around a lot of leagues where sometimes the most penalized team in the league wins the league.
Right.
So I just think it's what happens. You don't want them. Again, you try to, work against having penalties, but sometimes they happen.
Yeah, especially when it's oftentimes when it's about being aggressive. There's some penalties that you can accept. Obviously, it's the crucial penalties at the time. But I want to talk about the guys that you decided to bring with you. And you hinted at them a little bit earlier. I always am curious in terms of a coach of why you bring who you bring and what goes behind that decision.
I think it's what I said earlier. I'm not just about good football players. I'm about good people. Yeah. I'm about people that I can trust, people that are going to represent this football program, represent this university, and represent themselves well. And I have two young men that are leaders, two young men that they make sure that Bethune-Cookman University is first in everything that they do. They make sure that Bethune-Cookman University is important in everything that they do. And that's one of the reasons, and both of those guys were first team all SWAC last year. So they're doing it on the field
and off.
They're doing it off the field. And Amari is on his way to graduating. Kamari has already graduated. They're taking care of business in the classroom as well, and that's important to me.
Good point. Last thing I want to talk about as you're finishing up, I know you're really about your team playing well, fast, disciplined in a lot of ways. What can they expect from Bethune-Cookman, the Wildcats, this season?
I think you can, they can expect a tough, aggressive, hard-nosed, disciplined football team that's going to play the game the right way, and we're going to play the game hard. That's not going to change about us. We're not going to allow 2021 to affect 2022. We're not going to do that. Are we going to forget 2021? No, because we're not going to do any things that got us where we are. A lot of things were outside of our control, but the things that we can't control, we have made adjustments, and we will control the things that we can.
I believe that. I know I have a lot of expectation for Bethune-Cookman Wildcats myself. I've seen the work that you put in over the long haul and over the short period, and I know some of the things that took place that you don't drill on. But the fact is they're no longer there, so expect out and watch out for the Wildcats because they're going to be in the business of playing some football. This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, a special presentation from BCSN as we're here at the 2022 SWAC Football Media Day. And I have none other than the head football coach, Vincent Dancy of Mississippi Valley State University, the Delta Devils.
That's it. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Oh, it's good to have you, Coach. Last time I seen you, you didn't even realize I was there. I was down at Prairie View in the suite, eating all this good food, and the program went down there and went to work.
Yes, sir.
And got a big-time victory.
We did.
Want to ask you, I know that's closed. You kind of closed that chapter, but talk a little bit about how are the players coming back this summer, even maybe going back to the spring in terms of workouts. What is the team looking like?
We're looking good. We're returning 7 starters on offense, 7 on defense. And like I said, we added to that doing mid-year recruits. So we're looking good, and we wanted to get those guys in the mid-year to come in so they could participate in the spring, try to get an advantage. Went out and got a good big-time quarterback out of East Mississippi Junior College. So we're looking to come in and compete and work our tails off. That's who we are.
Yeah, and one thing that you have really talked about a lot is going to work.
That's it.
You might not get the fanfare, but it seems like it's coming along because a lot of people are noticing.
Right.
The work that you're putting down there, credit to the young men, what they're doing. Now you got an athletic director coming in, pushing some buttons, trying to give you more support.
Right.
Talk a little bit about what does that mean in terms of the direction that you want to see specifically the football program going?
We're having Hakeem McClelland come in, that new AD, we both got similar vision of where we want to see the football program go, but not only football program, just athletics in general. You know, it's 2022, and it's a lot of things that we got to change. It's a lot of things that we can enhance, and we sit down and we talk, and we both know nothing's going to happen overnight. But just having that vision of where we want the program, it's been great having him along. But the fans, they're super excited. Of course, coming off a season that we had, yeah, the wins doesn't equate to the way we played. We played hard all the way through the season.
No doubt.
That run of games we had at home was some of the best games I think in all of college football against Alcorn, FAMU, and Jackson State. So we just want to build off that momentum, and start it off the right way. Just start it out good. You know, we want to start good first.
Yeah, and you talk about a very aggressive schedule in terms solid about being able to start. Talk a little bit about you've hit the transfer portal as well.
Right.
Gotten some needed pieces in terms of 7 on offense, 7 at defense. That's a lot in terms of returning.
Right.
It was a very solid team.
Exactly.
Talk about on the offensive side of the ball. What are some of the things that make it go, and what is the next step?
Of course, our running game was phenomenal last year. We wanted to, you know, me being a defensive-minded head coach, everything starts up front with me. We want to be able to knock people around up front, move people off the ball. Our offensive coordinator got in late last year. He got in. We started camp August 5th. He came August 1st. So establishing our passing game, it wasn't where it should be. But as you can see, the middle of the season, we had Ja'Cory Rankin, an all-SWAC kid who moved up to 4th or 3rd in receiving. So we halfway through the season, our offense started picking it up. So I'm looking for that just to enhance this year, because having a spring with our offensive coordinator, having a spring with the quarterbacks and the guys that we have, that's where we're looking to take that next step offensively. It's just our passing game. I think offensively, you know, with 3 offensive, to me, some of the best offensive linemen coming back in this conference, coming back to our team and going out and getting a few transfers, I'm looking for our run game to still be that dynamic piece that it was last year, but looking to take our passing game to another level.
You talked about having your players back over the sun, going to work, and the physicality on the defensive side of the ball.
Right.
A lot of that, as you talk about, starts up front, but people may not have realized the defense, the backside of what you had on defense led the conference in interceptions. No fly zone a lot. We're getting work putting in. Talk about the overall scheme of the defense, and are there any nuance changes that you plan to do this year? I know you're not going to tell me all your things because they taping that, Coach. You know,
exactly. But we plan on changing, just tweaking our defense just a little more. We went out and got we signed, I think, about 5 secondary guys, you know, to add on to what we had coming back.
Okay.
So so
the depth is going to be there as well.
And I think that's the key to playing this game.
Okay.
You never know what you're going to come out of camp with, because you got to take everything into perspective. Injuries, just any little thing can happen. So you got to make sure that you equipped with enough going into the season. Long, brutal season. And the way we play football, we play tough. That's one thing. That's the mentality that has been set. That's who we are. We call it the Valley Way. We're going to hit you. And we don't fear. So that's why we wanted to build a depth, man, because you never know what may happen. But we're going to do some little different things on defense, but the expectations are still the same. We're still going to run around and fly around and hit people and be there for our brothers. So that's how we play that.
Coach Dancy, last question I have for you. Talking about the Valley Way.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little insight in terms of how you coach that. I mean, you hear people talking about being physical, but there has to be something that you do from, I would believe, in a daily preparation. Is that just continuing to talk about that all the time, or are there some things that you actually do to create that philosophy to talk about of being tough, hard-nosed, bringing your lunch pail, if you would, every day to go to work?
I think sometimes, you know, if you've ever been a kid or you've ever been just being somebody you looked over all the time.
Yeah, that's fair.
Everybody always looked over you.
Yeah, that's fair.
You always being picked on, a bullet or picked last. You never pick first. So it makes you work even harder to be the best.
I understand.
Because all these young men have goals and aspirations to be the best.
Okay.
And in order to be the best, you got to work that way. You got to train that way. You got to have a mentality, a certain mentality that you got to have in order to be that way. And to make it in the Delta heat, the mosquitoes, everything that comes with being in the Delta, living in the Delta, it's hard. It's difficult. But you got to press through. You got to have a mentality. And that's the Valley way. Nothing comes easy. Nothing comes easy. It's the work ethic that you got to have in order to progress, not only on the field, but off the field, in life, man. If you have that mentality, you can be whatever you want to be.
There you go.
And that's what we established. It's just the motivation factor, man. It's just that's who we are.
That's it. That's who you are. I tell you this, Coach. You keep doing that because I know what you did. When I talk to you every time, I get motivated. I get a chance on the Monday call,
right,
and it's just straight to the claw. I like to really get into dissecting the framework of how you go to work because I'm a believer. Right. I'm going to just be frank with you. So I appreciate what you're getting done.
Yes, sir.
Because I actually take that back to my classroom when I lecture students outside of sports that, nothing is going to be given to you in this world. And most of anybody that has been blessed with things is because they went to work. And that's what you're talking about.
You can't look at what everybody else had.
Oh.
You got to get it for yourself.
There you go.
And you got to go through those experiences for yourself. It's a great thing to earn it and not be given to you.
Yeah, that's real. So, you need more folks like you, Coach. Keep it up. You're teaching, so we appreciate it. I look forward to the season, what you're going to get done. This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with BCSN Sports. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Coach Clarence McKinney, the head football coach at Texas Southern University. Coach, you got an eerie little smile to you. There's a little confidence there. Your team must have been putting in some work this summer.
I'm excited about the work that they've been putting in since January. So,
there you go. Going back to spring football.
Back to spring football.
Let's talk a little bit about that. As you got into spring football, what were some of the things that you saw that was starting to transition in terms of the message that you wanted to rebuild this program?
I just feel like our guys didn't like the way the season ended. It felt like we left some wins out there. And I didn't have to really give them a message. They took it upon themselves to say, hey, we're going to be different.
That's huge when your team really starts to set the pace of the message. And it means the culture that you wanted to bring into the program is starting to cover itself. Talk a little bit about this summer and the continued work of having the guys back on campus and continue to put in their work. How has that been?
Yeah, I think the best teams are player-led, first of all. And our players, our leaders, lead our team, and our players are that they're leading are willing to be led. And so this summer we've had a tremendous amount of guys each day show up and work hard and push each other to be great. And so the culture has changed in that aspect to where our team's willing to work, and they understand that it takes working to be a champion.
That's good. That's good. And you talk about that in a lot of ways. That leadership is coming from your quarterback position and body, a young player, but got a chance as a freshman to really show some excitement. Talk about the offensive side and how he's leading and who else may be on that side of the ball, putting some leadership in front of the team on that side of the ball.
Yeah, Andrew's definitely our leader. He doesn't just lead our offense, though. He leads our entire team. Okay. And so our defensive leaders, they follow Andrew. They believe in him.
Wow.
Because he works hard. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't ask them to do anything that he doesn't do himself. And so they respect him for that, and they see how hard he's working. And he's young, but our team's young. Okay. And so he's a young guy who's leading other young guys. And the one good thing about our team is that a great majority of our guys that we've recruited come from winning programs, so they understand what it takes in the off season to be a winning program.
I remember talking to you last year when you were talking about that, really over the last couple of years, about the importance of bringing in players that come from winning programs and understanding a winning attitude. And it sounds like that's translating. Obviously, we've seen a lot of that translate on the offensive side of the ball, being able to put up some points. But let's transition to the defense. Mm-hmm. Tell us some updates on the defense while they also are showing the maturity level about challenging and being able to play on the defense. What do you see there?
Yeah, defensively, we played quite a bit of young guys on last year, so they've got a year of experience. Okay. And then one of our key guys up front didn't have an opportunity to play last year. He was out with a knee injury, Montez Pippins, and he's been healthy since the spring. and it's been a world of a difference to have him back in our program. And I think we've done a really good job as a staff on going out and recruiting in that transfer portal. We've got a couple guys here and there that can come in and help us right away and improve our defense.
I know special teams is important to you.
Mm-hmm.
You've led that in little different aspects as you've climbed up the coaching ranks in different capacities. Tremendous punter, field goal kickers that you have. Talk a little bit about where is that coming into this season?
So Richard Garcia will be a 3-year starter at place kicker for us, and we feel really confident in him and his ability to kick field goals from far out. He's worked hard in the weight room this off season. He's gotten his leg a lot stronger, and so he's a guy we have a tremendous amount of confidence in. We lost our punter to the transfer portal on last year, but we went to the JUCO circuit and got a guy who we feel like is going to be our secret weapon per se. And so he has a strong leg, and he's very athletic back there. So we'll be able to do some different things with our punting situation.
Last question I have for you is things start off in the Labor Day Classic, rivalry game. This year is at Prairie View. You've been part of it for a while now, so it's nothing in surprise. Just talk about the positives and challenges of kicking off the season against your rival.
Well, I always look at it like you got to beat who's on your schedule no matter when you're playing. So what better way than to open the season? The excitement has been built up. You know, we're playing against probably our top rival, and we're excited about it. And another positive is that we get an opportunity. You know, you win this game, you're first place in the SWAC,
right?
And you can give yourself a chance to build some momentum.
And you get a lot of that first week, because in week 4 you play Southern, team that you're able to get it done. And so you're right. Early on in the season, you can really start off a season and a lot of positive momentum to kick it around
and give yourself some confidence to
keep it going.
Go through the season, and who knows what'll happen the rest of the way.
I like that. Keep it up, Coach. This is Dr. Cavil inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I'm just saying hello to the young men. I thought we were going to take a break, but they ready to go, Coach. They excited about hearing from you, Coach Dr.
Well,
head football coach, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Golden Lions.
Golden Lions, yes, sir.
Not even 2 years ago, spring 2021, you're in the championship game.
Yep.
Really started off strong in a lot of ways last year. First half of Alcorn State game looked solid, and then the wheels kind of went in the wrong direction. The second half, it seemed like some injuries took place and couldn't quite get the ball rolling. Close the door on that chapter. Talk about the spring, summer, kids back working hard. Tell us a little bit of what are your thoughts in terms of preparation of the fall 2022 season?
Well, I'll go back to winter of 21. Immediately after the season was over, our guys working out. Probably had the best winter we've had in a long time. Winter leading up to spring. Had a really great spring with the additions of 30 new guys there. So, and then our summer workouts right now. All our scholarship guys being back on campus. You know, that's been huge for us. You know, so we're finishing tomorrow, will be week 5 completed. Going into week 6, that's going to lead up into training camp. The guys' bodies look a lot different than they look like they're in the best shape of their life right now. So, which is great for us. You know, and it's important to have them back because of the rigors of the season. And, you know, and injuries was a big part of last fall. You know, and we weren't able to overcome that. But we didn't bring them back at all after the championship game in the spring.
Okay.
You know, because it was unfamiliar territory for us. How soon do you bring them out? Do you overwork them? You know, we just didn't know. You know, it had never been done before to have 2 seasons in 1 year. So, but we have them back now, and it's a wonderful sight to see.
Talk a little bit about the support. Your athletic director is here. Because I'm not sure if everybody realizes that that's not always the case, that you can bring players back, especially scholarship-wise, for the summer, making sure that they have housing, make sure they have the food. How is that in terms of important, just overall, if not for your program, but people understanding what it takes to build a program, a winning championship-level program that is more than just
being what you can get done on the campus.
Right. Having a great program involves everybody. And you have to lean on everybody. The relationships have to be there. Everybody has to understand the importance of you just don't show up in August thinking you go win a championship. Those championships are won way before the lights come on game night. What the great Muhammad Ali say, the match was won those long hours prior to the boxing match in itself. So that's what it's doing now. So you get kind of why they here now? We never done it like that before. Well, you have to do some things differently
if you want different results.
If you want to win,
right?
Know, so but it's been good, and it's a wonderful sight to see that where your campus got people walking around it throughout the summer.
Coming up COVID, it was quiet. People didn't understand.
That's right. So
people isolated in a lot of ways. Let's go and focus, because I know defense is extremely important to you in terms of that side of the ball. Talk a little bit about that side of the ball. What people can expect coming up in this fall season, and any players that they may need to keep their eyes on.
Well, we're going to be stingier than we've ever done before. We ever have been before. We got co-coordinators and Tom Sims, longtime FBS guy, great resume, as well as co-coordinator Jeff Burrow. He'll handle our back end. Tom will handle the front end. Then we got a dynamic linebacker coach and Jake Barr, and longtime assistant with us is Jackie Cooper handling the corners. And then we'll be better on the back end. That was the area of focus in recruiting. Yeah. We finished out the year, the last 4 games or so with one starting defensive back, and we had to move some wideouts over the DB, but that wouldn't be the case this year. We ton of good guys, not just a ton of depth, but really, really good players that we feel that's going to make us stronger on the back end. But up front, we have 2 guys, Athen Smith. Okay. It's going to be a all-conference selection, preseason all-conference defensive end, Javon Gray. And then our linebacker core, I think, is going to be one of the best in our conference, if not the best. 3 guys have gone at all-conference attention at one point. Isaac Peppers, Monroe Beard was all-conference selection, and Tamon Atkins. And then you got Rylan Woods. That foursome in itself is very dynamic, and we added
they are
transfer,
dynamic.
yes. Really, really strong. And then our back end. The back end, we're still going to rely on some guys that we had in the spring.
Okay.
They showed some flashes. Now we just got to see if it carry over to the fall training camp, and then we'll see what happens on week 1.
Good deal. Well, everybody gets excited about the offensive side of the ball.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about who are some of the folks. Obviously, you got Skylar Perry coming back. Obviously, was injured a little bit himself, but it's my understanding he's healthy.
Yep.
And I know he's excited in terms of what he wants to get done this year.
Well, of course, Skylar and I came in together along with Mark Evans. I just told the other guys those are our day ones. We all came in at the same time.
Great point.
Mark is here now, and he'll anchor our offensive line, which will be a great group because they've been together as a core the entire last 3 years. So you got Mark Evans on one end, Noah Hayes on the other. Then you got Jordan Mack, who's taking a ton of snaps for us at guard, and but those guys will be good. And
it's always good for the cohesiveness of a line, not just in terms of having big guys, but the fact that they also talk and spend some time and understand the yin and the yang of how they want to play the game.
They actually call themselves the moving crew, TMC. So and we have our best. We had a great dynamic back in Taylor Porter a few seasons ago. Well, this overall, our core group of running backs, it's loaded. We're loaded in that area. Headlined by Kayvon Britton, which will be a sophomore. He showed flashes last year as a freshman, and he's going to be a guy there for us. The biggest question mark outside is at wide receiver. Okay. We graduated a ton of guys who played a lot of reps, but the group of guys that we got now, I think we think they're really dynamic. We just got to see them play up under the lights. They showed flashes in the spring.
Are they versatile in terms of wide receiver, in terms of size, speed?
All of that.
Okay, so you got a little bit of everything.
Yeah. We got some fast guys. And that's important for us. We got some guys that and they're getting to know each other right now. They got to be together as a unit. Yeah. Skylar's been the glue to that right now. And I look out my window and I can see him out there catching 1,000 balls a day. So we feel good about it, but they still haven't played under the lights for us. Now we do have a couple that's played from college football, but they haven't played for UAPB yet. And I think they're really going to do a good job for us.
Coach, well, I get excited because I saw what was able to get done in the spring in terms of that momentum, and I saw the transition in terms of Golden Lions and how it meant so much to you, the fans, and the president in terms of his support of that. So it's really good to see that, and so I'm excited to hear the momentum taking place again in Pine Bluff with the Golden Line.
And we've had big time support, you know, and that starts with our athletic director, Chris Robinson, a former all-everything quarterback, and he'll let you know it as well. Now, he's real smooth with it. He doesn't say too much about it, but
he going to let you know.
Back in his day now. But he's been able to help bridge that gap and let everybody know, to get everybody excited about, about us.
All right, no problem. Well, you hear it here with the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff Golden Lions. That's head football coach Dr. Gamble. This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. I have none other than, you see how he's prepping up, getting ready, head football coach at Alabama A&M, Bulldog, Connell Maynor. Good to have you, Coach.
Hey, great to be here. Great to be seen.
I know that's right.
There's a lot of people in the hospital, a lot of people in the grave. I'm not. So I'm thankful and don't take it for granted. And it's an honor to be a head football coach, D1 and in the SWAC.
No doubt about it. And I've been paying attention. You went to work. A lot of folks are talking about transfer portal and all those things. Defensive side of the ball. Talk about what did you believe that you got done in terms of bringing some players in on that side of the ball?
Well, we know our defense wasn't very good last year. It's no secret. You got to evaluate yourself and see what your weaknesses, strengths are, and what you need to improve. And we knew it was the defensive side of the ball. And so we made a conscious effort to get in the portal and get some defensive guys in. And I thought our coaches did an excellent job of selecting the guys that we think that fit our program, defense that we want to play, and our type guys, family guys, football players.
You also did that in terms of the coaching ranks. Now, Coach Bo, where he came over during part of the season, but in a lot of ways that also brought the team back together. What you're able to do at Winston-Salem State when you're head coach. He was a defensive coordinator when you went to semifinals and then went to the finals at the Division II level out of the CIAA. What does he bring to the table in terms of what you know he's able to get done?
Well, I mean, I coached with him before. Like you said, we had a great relationship and made a great run at Winston-Salem State University. And I know Coach Boulware is going to be prepared. He's a hard worker, and he's like me. He's a family guy. He cares about the players. We care about our players. We want them to be successful off the field. We know there's only 1% of the players going to go to the league. So we try to get them ready for the real world. And that Boulware is just like me in that he cares so much about the players. And we made the switch last year, and, of course, we won the last 4 games with him as the DC. And now we got him some more players. And expect him to do what he do and what he's always done and have a good defense out there.
One thing I know that you've always been able to do is coach offense. That is not a problem. But one of the things we saw, you brought 2 of the players you brought were from the offensive side of the ball. Tell us a little bit what goes into making a decision like that. Sometimes you see an offense, defensive player. Why bring 2 offensive players?
Because one is a 3-time All-American. The other one's 2-time All-Conference. The defense, all those guys are basically new or transfers. And, you can't even vote them on all conference.
That's true.
First-year players into the league.
Yeah,
so,
nobody knows.
Yeah, I'm not going to bring a first-year player transfer when I got 2 all-conference players and All-American. So I brought the best 2 players.
I like it. Sticking with the offense, question a lot of people have in terms of your quarterback position. For me, you've always been able to produce offensive numbers. Is there anything that people should consider differently? And in terms of that, what do you see at the quarterback position during the spring coming out of this summer as well?
We'll be ready. We'll be fine at quarterback. The guy that starts for us, plays for us, is not going to be a Quill Glass. So Quill Glass is a 4-year starter.
Yeah.
And you just don't replace the Tom Brady the first year. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers the first year. You're not going to do that. Okay. So the guy we have will do a great job. We got 2 guys I think that can lead our team, either one that starts and lead us to a championship. So the old saying, you got one, you got none. I think we got 2. And so we'll be fine. We'll be fine at quarterback. Those guys, we got to run out there. We prepared. He going to do his job. Take what the defense give us. We got a system. All you got to do is go back and look in the record books. Okay? All our quarterbacks are good. So Quill Glass was great. The next quarterback could be good.
One thing that I really appreciate that I've had a chance to talk to you over the years, you said this is really a simple game, right? There's not a lot that you can really trick things up or whatever. You get your Jimmy and Joes, you coach them hard, you put them in position to be successful. Talk to a little bit about what came about understanding that as you've come through the rank of football. You've won at every level, so why do you put that in front of everybody to let them know that we don't have to make this more difficult than it is?
I don't know. I mean, I've been telling them for years. It ain't rocket science. It's play to your strengths, defense weaknesses. Defense play to your strengths, offense weaknesses. You watch the tape to see what the other team weaknesses are. Then you attack those weaknesses and play to your strengths while you're doing it. It's very simple. But everybody want to try to reinvent the wheel and want to be the new Einstein. There ain't no new Einstein. It's football.
There you go.
It's football. So keep it simple, stupid, and play to your strengths, defense weaknesses. Very simple.
I like it. No, it's not. Talk a little bit more about the overall scheme in terms of their special teams. Where are you in terms of Alabama A&M with your special teams? What can we expect on that side?
Well, special teams wasn't the worst and it wasn't the best last year. But a lot of times the special teams are made up pretty much 90% of your defensive players. So we got a lot of new transfers, defensive players, guys that got those special team type bodies. They can run down there and run through people and be physical. So we expect our special teams to be a little bit better than they were last year. So they was kind of probably in the middle of the road, special teams. So we probably need to improve that a little bit, and we think we will with the new guys that we brought in.
Do you think anything about, home and away games in terms of scheduling neutral sites games? In the media, we look at those things. Do we overplay that when we look at that, or is there something to it in terms of where certain games may be played? Obviously, you go down to Tallahassee this year in terms of what many people anticipate should be a big matchup. Instead of going to Jackson, you play that in Mobile.
Right.
In terms of some of the teams, the expectation top teams, at least on paper, that a lot of people think about those teams. But then Valley, where that game may be played. Talk a little bit, at least on your divisional side. What's your thoughts in terms of where a game may be played?
Well, for me, it don't matter. But on road games,
yes,
I think I can get my team closer together on a road game because we leave, we eat the same. They got their game plans, their scouting reports. They get to read those. They're in the hotel together. They don't have any distractions, outside distractions. The family coming in late Friday night, the girlfriend calling them, want them to do this, want them to do that. You all with your team. You focus on your game plan. Focus on what you got to do. You go out there and you play a game, you win. I think the visiting team is more focused than the home team. Well, they don't have as many distractions.
I'm going to leave the last word with you, Coach. What can we expect? What do people need to think about when they get ready to watch the Alabama A&M Bulldogs this fall 2022?
The same thing you always sing, fireworks on the offensive side, and now hard-hitting, fast defense on the defensive sside of the ball.
You heard it here, right here. Dr. Bill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with BCSN. We have head football coach Alabama A&M. Coach Connell Maynor, he said, get your popcorn ready. That's what he's telling a lot of y'all. Offense is going to be there, and bringing a defense that will travel now as well. Should be some exciting football on the hill up there and on the road, as you would say.
That's right.
This is Dr. Bill's inside the HBCU Sports Lab with a special edition of BCSN here at 2022 SWAC Football Media Day, and I have none other than Coach Willie Simmons. One of my favorite interviews just because of the candor and the relationship that we had at your previous institution of Prairie View. I still have a checkbook for you there.
We'll take it. We spend green money at FAMU too.
There you go. I know you would. But seriously, your football team has been right at the edge. What do you believe is going to be the difference this year?
Well, I think the difference is the commitment to the little things. We talk about it all the time as a football team. Talented teams are elite when they pay attention to detail, when they're a close-knit group, when the leadership comes from within, and they truly hold themselves accountable. And that's really what the emphasis has been for these guys this summer. I've seen a different attitude from our guys like Xavier Smith, who have never really been vocal guys, who are taking the initiative now to be more vocal. I think that's going to be the difference. So the accountability within, the attention to detail, the little things will be the difference that gets us from being a really good team to being an elite football program.
Yes, you had a playoff. You got a player that had a free agent signing that's doing really well. So every symbol is talking about this program taking an upward trajectory. I want to know a little bit more about the offensive side of the ball. You're a quarterback, previously a quarterback. I guess you still have a little bit in that arm.
No, I don't.
No, you try. I know you can't give away too much, but talk a little bit about the quarterback room is how has camp been for the quarterback?
Well, last year was probably the first time in my coaching career, particularly as a play caller, where I really had to evaluate how aggressive we would be offensively. Okay. I knew we had a very strong defense. I knew we had a very solid special teams unit, but I wasn't confident that we had the type of offensive unit that could go in and say we're going to get the 80 plus, 90 plays a game, be very, very aggressive, because we weren't very stable at the quarterback position, so to speak. So Rashawn did a really good job of managing the game last season, and but he's a year older. He now has those 12 games under his belt. Last year he had no college experience other than one start, and so now you can put a little bit more on him. He's taken a lot more initiative to really digest the playbook. Typically, it takes about a year or two to really, know exactly what I want to do offensively.
Especially in your playbook.
From a quarterback perspective, understanding how I think and why I call certain things, and he's to that point now. And so now I think you'll see a different Rashawn. But again, Jeremy Musa's breathing right down his back. A guy that transferred in from Vanderbilt University as a graduate transfer, tremendous arm talent, very, very cerebral young man. He can speak to you in coach's terms. So when you start talking about protections and talking about defensive rotations and all the little intricacies of the position, he has all those. And so it's going to be a fierce competition. I'm really looking forward to seeing those guys perform at that level. And I'm blessed now to be coaching that position as the head coach. And but I feel really good about the direction the quarterback group is headed in. And obviously we'll go as they go. And so with those two guys and the other guys in the room, I feel like we'll go back to having those prolific offenses that Rattler Nation has come to expect from us.
Offensive line, you were able to run the ball a lot more. But tell me a little bit about just overall offense of some of the playmakers. Have you added any additional playmakers on that side of the ball?
Well, fortunately for us, we didn't lose many. Okay. Aside from Bishop Bonnet, our first team all-conference running back, we returned all of our key members from last season. We talked about Rashawn, but when you mentioned Xavier Smith, who 2 years in a row has led the team in receiving, has been one of the more productive receivers in FCS football over the last couple of years. Jamarie Shareed, who transferred to us last season from Texas State, who ended up being an All-American punt returner, led the nation in punt return yardage. Kamar Young, our tight end, Terrell Jennings, and Jalen McLeod, two big physical, powerful running backs. So when you return that type of star power offensively, it equates to hopefully a very dynamic offensive group. And then we've added some additions, guys like Trey Davis, who was, a Division II first team all-conference receiver. Kobe Gross, who was the number one rated junior college tight end when he signed with Florida State, who's now transferred to us, and even a couple other guys that are coming into the fold. We got a few tricks up our sleeves. So we're not going to let Jackson State and Deion have all the fun in the recruiting trails, but we do have some very, very dynamic young men that we feel will give us a chance again to match our defensive prowess and our special teams dominance. We feel like we arguably have the best kicker, punter, return combination in the country.
Good point. The talk of the town, the talk of the conference, SWAC, HBCU, and FCS was the defense last year. Didn't lose much on the defensive side of the ball. Tell me a little bit about that defense. Is it still getting you excited?
Well, we lost a key component, Marquise Bell. Well, when you lose a player of that caliber,
you're right.
He's not hard. He's not easy to replace, right? And so, he and Antoine Collier did a great job last year of being our last line of defense as our two safeties. You're talking about two guys that are over 6'2", right around 200 pounds, that both love contact, and were ball hawks. And so losing those two guys were really, impactful. Yes. And then Savion Williams on the defensive line, so again, when you lose, those three guys were huge losses, but we feel like we've replaced them with guys that can be hopefully equally as productive or close to it. Okay. But you got Isaiah Land coming back for another year. He's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger, which is scary, but he is.
See what I did with my
You got General Hunt, who was one of the best interior defensive linemen last season as a freshman.
And
coming back
with his name Hunt.
Yeah, he ain't nothing gentle about him. And so, but again, he's returning. And then the additions that we've added in the secondary at the linebacker position will be much more explosive at linebacker than we have been in the past. Secondary will be, I think, more athletic, maybe not as physical with two big physical presences leaving, but we're way more athletic. And then up front, we feel like we'll have a greater level of productivity, being that our two marquee guys, General Hunt and Isaiah Land, are again a year older, and they've been in the weight room really, really hard over the last 365 days.
Special teams.
Again, I'm biased, but if you find a better kicker, punter, return combination in the country, I like to see it. Chris Fadul is a returning All-American punter. Led the nation in punting in 2018, finished second by tenths of yards in 2019. Obviously tore his ACL last year, so didn't finish the season, but he'll be back for his senior year. Jose Romo Martinez is an all-conference punter. He was a projected first-team all-conference performer, All-American candidate. And then Jamaria Sharee led the nation in punt return yards last year at over 19 yards per return. And so, again, we have one of the most dynamic trios in the country as far as special teams goes. And with our size, our speed, our athleticism at those key positions, linebacker, defensive end, tight end, running back, even wide receiver and defensive back, we feel like we'll be able to field players on those 4 key units that really should give us a huge advantage in the special teams area.
You got your friend out there, Charles Bishop, eavesdropping.
I see him taking notes over there. He act like he's not paying attention, but I see him putting everything that we're saying in his cell phone right now.
No, we just said you over there eavesdropping. Everything we saying, you taking notes on your phone, trying to act like you
all inconspicuous, like you don't know.
Like you don't know what
man.
what y'all talking to me?
Say my first rodeo, Charles. Say my first rodeo.
And I bring that up because Orange Blossom Classic, big game. We can't hide from it. But you've experienced this for now the 6th year in a row, where you open up the season against what, in this case, we'll say rival. Obviously, with Prairie View and Texas Southern, true in-state rival. In this case, at least rival in terms of who finished first in the conference.
Right.
And many people see you all finishing in the top, and a lot of it has to do with that game. How have you managed that process based on what happened last year, and more importantly, what you've done in the past of understanding preparation for the first game of the year against, which is a big game?
Yeah, I think the key in that, and I'm blessed to have gone through this multiple times, as you alluded to. When you open the season out of conference, and primarily you play 2 or 3 games before you start conference play, you don't have maybe as much of an emphasis to get everything installed, to make sure that you really giving the guys everything they need as far as the whole playbook, because you got 3 games to kind of get used to playing.
And I understand this year you do
right.
open against North Carolina, and I know that's the game you focus
0,
on.
right? But so
you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, but the difference is when you open the season in conference play, we gotta be ready to play.
Okay.
I mean, there's no question that the preparation, the summer preparation, the film study with us as coaches, it's that much more critical, right? To make sure that we know everything we can about our opponent, in this case, Jackson State. Just like when I was at Prairie View, knowing everything we could about Texas Southern. You have to know their personnel. You have to know their coaching philosophy. You have to know the new additions to the rosters. And so all those key, intricate things that a lot of times you don't really figure out until game day, we got to work that much harder to know them earlier, because the game has so much at stake. Last year we said it. Coach Prime and I said it on the field. Whoever wins this game is more than likely going to win the SWAC. And that's exactly what happened. And so I'm not saying that this year to go out and give people bulletin board material, but based on the preseason rankings,
that's what a lot of people
we're 1 and 2. Yeah. And so we know the magnitude of this game and the ramifications of the implications of it are huge. And so we got to make sure we're ready to go.
So you sound like you'll be ready, and the team will be ready as well. I know it's been a long day. You got a little road ahead of you, so I want to thank you for making sure that you gave some time to get an interview in. So I really appreciate that in a lot of ways.
Well, of course, I know it's a steak riding on it, so I know if I didn't come and talk to you, that next time I come to Houston, you wouldn't give him a good steak. So now that I've done my interview, I can, and I'm going straight T-bone. We're going to the nicest steak restaurant in Houston, and we're going to blow it out.
Second nicest.
Second nicest.
I ain't ready for that. First nicest. We'll go to second nicest.
We appreciate you, brothers, always.
I appreciate it. It's always fun and always you keep up the great work. And tell the family, the wife.
So your battery died yet? Your phone dead? You still got
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Special presentation from BCSN here at the 2022 SWAC Football Media Day. That will be a wrap for us.